Hello, my name is Giancarlo Cotella. I'm Associate Professor in Spatial Planning at Politecnico di Torino. And what I do in my research is somehow to compare how spatial governance and planning system works in various European countries, but also in other regions in the world. Among these regions, I did in the recent years some research on some East Asian country and Japan. And I'm here today with my colleague Magda Bolzoni to tell you some of the stories of the cooperation that we undertook with some colleagues from Ryukoku University in Kyoto, among which there are two friends of us here with us, that are Yahagi Sensei and Oishi Sensei from Ryukoku University.
Good morning, my name is Magda Bolzoni. I am a postdoctoral fellow in sociology at the University of Turin, working in the field of urban transformation, migration and social and spatial inequalities. I also teach at the Politecnico methodologies for social inclusion and participation. And I had the pleasure of meet Hiroshi Sensei first in 2015, when I was just finished my PhD. That was on gentrification and urban changes in Turin, and we met because Professor Hiroshi was interested in the transformation of Turin back then, and specifically on the neighborhood I was doing research on. So I'm very happy to be today with them together and chat together about our collaboration and friendship.
Thank you for today. I'm happy to be here. My name is Naoko Oishi, Associate Professor of Policy Science at Ryukoku University. I'm researching and teaching social innovation in rural area and in agriculture, and focusing on the multi-level policies which promote innovative activities of the young generation, like social entrepreneur or farmers. Also, I'm dedicating a part of my life to produce natural clothes, cultivating cotton and spinning into thread like these instruments and dyeing by hand. Thank you for today.
Hi, my name is Hiroshi Yahagi, now a research fellow of Ryukoku University in Kyoto. After retiring as a professor of the university 4 years ago, after working at the business newspaper as a journalist for more than 30 years, I started my university life just 20 years ago. Fortunately, I have enjoyed very productive years, making many friends abroad and publishing more than 10 books in Japanese and in English. Japan has quickened its depopulation phenomenon since the end of the last century. Especially local cities have been suffering much from the depopulation and aging. Many villages and small towns have been facing to the crisis of disappearing in the last decades, as in Italy. I started my shrinking city studies from making field research of Japanese local cities in 1990s. I published several books. However, from my interest shift from Japan to American cities at last. From my job career, such as bureau chief of Los Angeles of the newspaper where I worked, and a visiting researcher at Ohio State University, I had been interested in American cities. With the money from the Ministry of Education, I have devoted myself to American city studies. At the first, focusing on shrinking cities of the Midwest, such as Detroit and Cleveland. Detroit is a car-making city that has lost more than 50% of its population from 1.8 million to 7 million for the last 50 years due to post-industrialization and suburbanization. I published a book about Detroit. As the result of these works, I became a harbinger of shrinking city studies in Japan around 2010. And on the second stage of my shrinking city studies, I liked to do them with the European cities. To my happiness, I could get the next research money from the ministry again. I selected Torino for our research. At the time, Torino was making the effort of changing from a Fiat city. Since around 2010, I have begun to commute to Italy at least twice, sometimes 3 times a year with my university fellows. Fortunately, I met Magda and Giancarlo in the opportunity of visiting Torino. Since then, we have been deepening our relationship, not only personally, but also between our universities by producing several academic exams. Our relationship is not stopping between us. It has been expanding to including other universities in Japan and Italy, such as University of Tokyo, Nagoya University, and Polytechnic Valley.
This shrinking city topic is very relevant for Europe. We do have many countries in Europe that have been shrinking, both in terms of population and economically. Germany is a clear example, but also in Italy, this is high on the agenda, I would say. We do have a natural population decline since many years, and many urban centers and their conurbation have been decreasing also economically. This has been the topic of one conference that we organized in Torino last year. It was the National Conference of the Italian Society of Urban Planning, and this title was exactly concerning this topic. It was downsizing, right scaling, referring to what is the main problem here, is to find the right scale to figure out how to plan the development of our territories in a moment in which never-ending growth is not anymore an option. But we are not talking only about cities here. These decline and shrinking phenomena also concern very much our in-between territories as well as rural and remote areas. We do have various strategies both from the European Union side but also from the Italian government that deal with this phenomena, as for instance the National Strategy of Inner Area. And this is where our cooperation with Oishi Sensei steps in. As with her, we've been researching quite a lot inner area, social innovation, and way to recover these type of territories.
Since I started my career in academic sector, I have been researching social entrepreneurs who are key actors for changing the social system and achieving a sustainable society. And unfortunately, here Sensei has been a colleague of my faculty, and I had the opportunity to participate in the research project of Torino. And at that time, I'm very interested in the ecosystem for fostering social entrepreneurs and creating networks to scale up social innovation. And I have been able to research good practices in Torino. Giancarlo has coordinated the meeting. But after that, from my experience of working with them, I had known that in Italy, there has been innovative activities through local food and agriculture in rural area, so as to requalify local resources and generate new value or industry, so such as slow food, agri-trees, and organic industry. And on the other hand, as Hirose mentioned, Japan is suffering from the population aging society, especially in the hilly and mountain areas. And then Japan government at that time implemented policies for rural revitalization. So therefore, I thought it could be useful for both the Italian and the Japanese to exchange the experience of both country and study regional and local policies regarding food and agriculture. So we had started to exchange our experience. Like I invited Mahura and Jankar in Japan, and we visited in a mountainous area to experience some Inaka. Inaka means countryside lifestyle and the influence of young people entrepreneurship who moved from the metropolitan cities. And in 2018, thanks to also Maura Giancarlo, we had an international congress in Turin, and we conducted a study trip in the area where we met young people trying to regenerate a traditional winery in an abandoned area and create a new community in such rest river area. And all of those activities has enriched my research conception and methodological approaches and given me important implications. It's adaptable for Japanese cases.
Thank you, Naoko. Well, I have to say that meeting Hiroshi Sensei, then Naoko Sensei, and then a lot of other colleagues from Japan and Japanese university, well, not only brought me closer to Japan, but actually enriched my toolkit for understanding better the social phenomena I was doing research on in Europe and in Italy. My interest has always been on socio-spatial inequalities and, let's say, on understanding the dynamics and the policies shaping the frame of opportunities and constraints within which the social actors find themselves to act, and then the action, interaction, reaction of these social actors. And so, well, Hiroshi understanding on shrinking cities, on depopulation, on aging, became really relevant elements for me to better frame and to better understand the social and urban transformation that were ongoing in Italy and in Europe. And Naoko approach to rural-urban relationship, rural-urban migration, became very relevant for me as well within the frame of planetary urbanization, and it reflects also on more recent researches on gentrification, not only in the urban space but also outside the urban, and on migration in rural areas. So all these different approaches, all these different interests actually merged together at a certain point. And together with Hiroshi and Naoko, we wrote a proposal that we submitted to the Japanese Society for the Promotion of Science, and we got funded for actually a scholarship, a one-year scholarship, that allowed me to spend a year at Ryukoku University in Kyoto, where, well, Naoko became my host professor, and Hiroshi was there to support me, and actually they both introduced me to other Japanese colleagues who were kind enough to support my effort in doing research on diversity and migration in Japanese cities, so trying to understand better the policies concerning multiculturalism and diversity in different cities connected historically with the automotive industry, such as it is Turin. So I was really happy and lucky to spend this period of time in Japan to do research and to meet other colleagues and to discuss together. And that brought to other collaboration in time. So we didn't just met or spend time together in Japan that year, but we kept on meeting in Italy, in Japan, but also in conferences in Hong Kong or in New Zealand or in the US, for example. So from there, our collaboration, I think, kept on going, and we tried to write together a new proposal, try to find new elements to focus on in joint researches. So I think this is a really enriching overall frame.
Indeed, and this fellowship that let you stay in Japan for 1 year, that's very nice, is the moment when we met actually.
Yeah.
We met invited at the dinner organized by Ryukoku University, and after that we stayed there a couple of weeks and managed to experience, of course, research together with our colleague, but also started to enjoy little bits and pieces of Japanese culture. We visit together the Sake Museum.
Yeah, that's right.
I went, brought by Naoko-san in Koya-san, in the midst of Japanese mountain in the winter to visit the temples and meditate with the monks there, and so on and so forth. Eating a lot of strange foods in various izakayas together with Hiroshi-san.
Yes.
So the cultural aspect of our visit to Japan and of our Japanese colleague visits to Italy has always been, in the last 10 years, a very strong element. But one thing that is also relevant in our cooperation is that this network that started small has grown for time. Like, for instance, in occasion of the conference that Naoko-san was mentioning before, that was titled Promoting the Smart, Sustainable and Inclusive Development of Inner Areas in Europe and East Asia. More than 50 scholars from all around Europe and various countries from East Asia joined here at Politecnico di Torino. It was 2018. And there we somehow set the basis for a common global comparative research agenda on the matter of inner area and their future development trajectories.
I'm happy to mention several academic achievements through our exchanges. First of all, we could invite many Italian fellows to Japan other than Magda and Giancarlo by using these research money. Mentioning the names of Politec Torino and the University of Torino was very effective and useful to apply competitive research money and to win them. We have succeeded in getting this money necessary to invite them to Japan. Lots of thanks to the privilege of the universities in Europe. Also, we could hold as an international conference in Torino in 2018 under the co-sponsorship with both universities. We invited researchers from several universities, such as Taiwan National University, Polytech Dortmund, University of Warsaw, and Paris University. On the other hand, I have published 2 books with the contribution from Magda and Giancarlo. One of them is Miracle of Torino, published in 2017. This book focused on destruction of Torino from a heavily Fiat-dependent city to more diverse city. That is, bioindustries, IT businesses, new food industries, environmental tech industries, film industries, and historical site tourism. Torino seems to change its city image from a smoky city to a 21st advanced industrial city. Another book is The Forum on Cities After COVID-19, focusing on American and European cities suffering from COVID-19. This book became a very urgent publishment at the end of 2020, when COVID-19 broke out worldwide. Maybe it was the first runner of COVID-19 publishing in the field of urban studies in Japan. There are lots of positive responses to this book. Contribution of Magda and Giancarlo led to this successful project. So thank you very much for your going with us always.
So in 2020, very year of COVID-19 started. Fortunately, our research proposal has been adopted by the Japanese Science Research Promotion Fund, and we started a collaborative research project. Its objective is to clarify foundational elements necessary for achieving sustainable communities in less favorable area, such as in Italy, in areas, Japan hilly and mountainous area. By comparing the multi-level policies and practices for revitalization, Italy and Japan has experienced a similar process of industrial development after the World War II, and also there another common characteristic. Now in Italy and Japan, a similar new initiative for revitalization can be observed in common. But in Italy, I can find some advanced cases to generate new social community in rural area. For example, activities of immigrants in the context of social inclusion. This is an idea from Magda's research approaches. And another point of view, I would like to have more discourse on the concept of spatial planning for sustainability in the context of land use and protecting the landscape, which seems to be very different between Italy and Japan. Anyway, the current Magda give us various viewpoints and hints. Thank you very much. And after we continue to collaborate on the project. And actually, 2 weeks ago, I visited Torino, and Magda coordinated meeting with researchers and practitioners, which indeed enhanced our research activities. And we will publish a book next year on this research project.
Yeah, as you may have understood by now, our collaboration and cooperation with Hiroshi, Naoko, and other Japanese colleagues is keep on going and is growing strong. We keep on developing new joint research projects together. Both Giancarlo and I became member of the research center LORC that is based at Ryukoku University in Kyoto. We are actually thinking on how to develop the next research project. Of course, the COVID pandemic kind of slowed down our meeting in person, but we managed to keep on meeting online through calls and webinars to keep on sharing our mutual understanding and perspectives on the analysis of the social phenomena we are interested in, and to basically be ready to go back on the fieldwork as soon as possible. And as Naoko just mentioned, she was here in Italy and in Turin just a couple of weeks ago, and it was very beautiful and very nice to finally meet each other again and start doing research together again. I know that Hiroshi Sensei will come over to Italy in August, September, and Giancarlo and I are planning to visit our colleagues in Kyoto and in Japan in next February, basically to set the ground for future research and to start working on a common shared publication. Thank you very much to our friends and colleagues. I say goodbye from my side, and I will just give the floor to Naoko.
Thank you for everything. This opportunity is also very wonderful, a part of our collaboration and registered. So anyway, in the future, we can develop our collaboration and friendship. Thank you very much.
Yes, I like to be involved with relationship for a while, but enough work. So I like to transfer this relationship to younger generation. And of course, I like to expand the relationship to other countries, not only in Japan, but also the Asian countries, because I have several friends in universities of East Asian countries. So it becomes more global relationship. Thank you very much.
Well, so by now I think you have been listening to us, you've been understanding that we do love Japan a lot, and our colleagues have loved a lot to stay with us here. We not only undertook academic relations together, we became friends, we shared a lot of research work, but we also enjoyed cultural exchange and nice cozy moments, culinary experiences, visits, walks in the wild, and so on and so forth. We did a lot in the past 10 years. We are doing things now, and we do have plans for the future. And we do really hope that this conversation and everything that Politecnico di Torino is undertaking in order to strengthen Politecnico presence in Japan, like the new Politecnico Japan Center, will help to strengthen this relation. I would say that's all, folk. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.